So there's this idea that I'm getting a divorce, and so I should go out and get a pit bull attorney who's going to take us right to
Yeah.
court and
Wait,
fight for me.
guys, I'm
You
sorry.
disappeared, and I was like, do I know?
I know. I'm sorry. There was a glitch of some kind. I don't know if the live stream is going to work, but so I'll just hit start recording again and see what happens, and then we'll go.
All right, so I'm
All
waiting
right.
for your finger.
It actually does look like the live stream is going right now, so I don't know why. All right, but I'm going to hit record. I'm going to hit record again. Hopefully, we'll see the countdown, and we'll just go.
Okay.
Again, we don't really care about the live as much as we care about
Okay.
the permanent. Here we go.
Okay. So there's this idea, especially promoted by pop culture, that when you're getting a divorce, you need to find the best, scariest pit bull attorney who will go to court and fight for you and get the best outcome possible. And that's the only way to do it. And so today's guest, I imagine, does not agree with that. So Tracy, why don't you tell us what you think first, and then we'll go into a formal introduction.
I mean, if you want to set money on fire, then absolutely hire yourself a pit bull attorney. If that's you just like wasting money and having a lot of conflict and really delaying your divorce, then absolutely you should do that. But if not, you should choose a different route for your divorce.
Okay, so perfect. Tell us who you are and what you do. And I love hearing about the different routes, especially because, the people listening to this tend to be in very difficult situations. I know at the beginning of a divorce, everything is high conflict, but ours tend to continue that way. So I'd love to hear about Amicable Divorce Network.
Absolutely. So my name is Tracy Moore Grant. I'm the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. And it is the only organization in the entire world, and it is global, that vets divorce professionals. And that's everybody: real estate agents, attorneys, financial professionals, on 3 criteria that we vet on. The first is experience in family law. 5 years minimum experience is required. Second is that the professional has a resolution focus to their practice. And third, that they engage in fair and transparent billing practices. So we're very protective about who gets into the network. And so once somebody is a member, we have an out-of-court process, the amicable divorce process, that helps people get divorced step by step, build a customizable team if they need and can afford it. And we also have a sophisticated technology platform that helps people organize and understand their finances and collaborate with their team. So that is what the Amicable Divorce Network is in a nutshell. So we do not have the pit bull attorneys in our network. We have the golden retrievers. And so we think that that's a much better dog choice for your attorney. So.
Okay. So what led you, tell us a little bit about your experience. What led you to this path?
So I am an attorney. I've been practicing for 22 years solely in the area of family law. My office is north of Atlanta, Patterson, Moore, Butler, and we have a couple of locations. I'm also a mediator. I'm a parent coordinator. I'm a guardian ad litem for children. I do all kinds of things in the family law system, and I always have. And a few years ago, around 2019, I was just very fed up with family law. And a lot of practitioners get to that point because it is day in, day out, people screaming at you. And I'm not talking about the clients. I understand if clients are going to be upset and emotional. Absolutely. I got in this work to help people. But I found out that I wasn't able to help them mainly because of the opposing counsel.
Oh my gosh, you're the second lawyer I talked to this week who said the exact same thing.
Yeah. So if my case randomly, the other person selected a high conflict opposing counsel, I was on, and my client was on a wild roller coaster ride. I could never answer the questions that are very reasonable. How long is this going to take? And how expensive is it going to be? And what's going to happen? And I thought, there really should be a way to control and be able to answer those questions for people. How stressful to go meet with an attorney and ask those questions and not be able to get any sort of answer, for the answer to be, I have no idea, because it really depends on how the other attorney behaves. And so I really wanted to create an organization and environment for people to both practice divorce work as professionals, but also for people to get divorced in a better and more controlled environment.
Okay, so now I know that amicable divorce, in probably a lot of people's heads, they compare it to collaborative divorce, where each party has their own attorney, and often there's a mental health professional, a financial professional involved. How does yours differ, or how is it similar to collaborative divorce?
I think we're the set. We want to collaborate with the right professionals, and we want to court, but it is different. First is people prior to being able to say they're in our network. Collaborative law, any training. So you could have a high conflict person who's taken collaborative training. So we have our gatekeeping at the very beginning. So once we vet them to their peers, so once they get in, then they can take our training. Is that the team of professionals that is utilized is not mandatory. We call in professionals and bring them in as needed. Parties can afford. Having an amicable divorce can be 100% free. We are utilized by the University of Georgia Law Clinic, and they don't charge. Technology package is free to our members to use, and zero cost to it if that's what the needs of the parties. The third part is one that many people don't understand about, and that is that they all compromise their confidentiality. Client privilege, you don't have privacy with your coach or the financial professional. And so if your case just can't be solved collaboratively, working with then has to excuse themselves from the case. We do not do that. Nobody changes. I have attorney-client privilege with them. They have privilege with anybody who has that in their business. What I have found is normal professionals who are all focused on helping the parties resolve things, you don't need to compromise your confidentiality. And if you have to access, you can use the same people that you have been using. You don't really saves time and money for people should that event occur, but we're successful with getting them over the finish line.
Oh, that is like such a pleasure to hear. So you're making me think back of my own divorce. I chose an attorney who seemed very socially intelligent, had high social emotional skills. He explained how he would try to keep the costs down and keep things as peaceful as possible. My divorce, unfortunately, didn't go that way because of a huge part of what you're saying. My ex fired his first attorney who was cooperating with my lawyer.
Yeah.
Because he was cooperating with my lawyer and moving towards resolution, because we know a lot of these types of people want the opposite of what we want, which is to finish it. They want to stay engaged and to wear us down and bleed us dry financially. So when my ex hired another lawyer, my attorney immediately called me and said, I am so sorry, but the person that he hired has a really terrible reputation. She's one of the few people that I find it impossible to work with. And so we should now plan that this is going to go to trial. And within 3 months, I feel like my bills went up to $80,000 because of opposing counsel. So people who are at the beginning of the process don't realize the behaviors that opposing counsel can do. Are there any, can you, from your 22 years of experience, can you give us some background for what we call our babies versus our grizzled veterans who have seen it? For someone in a situation like this, who is dragged to court by opposing counsel who is very similar to their ex's personality, what are some common behaviors? I'm thinking lack of civility that you have witnessed in your experience.
Yes. So for high conflict professionals, I would say promises probably that they can't deliver. If you're asking can you guarantee a specific, result? They say yes. That's very concerning, because when you hand it over to the judge is making those decisions. High conflict really do not communicate in a respectful way. So if your attorney is sending an email, hey, trying to set up, this, and can we get this information? Sending is just filled with vile and hostile. That is not productive. You pay. So when you are angry and starting your divorce and you want to hire this pit bull attorney to represent you, you are paying for that personality. You are paying to project your feelings into the system, into that professional, and you're increasing your costs. And the result that nothing. You get nothing productive from that as a person. And so, yes, you will see no focus. Only court hearings, only depositions, only requests for documents, no talk about mediation, no settlement offers, all of these different, types of things. And if somebody's very upset, and most people are, nobody's happy to start a divorce. Everybody's brokenhearted. Perhaps they're betrayed. Complicated emotions are, and I have sat there myself. I am divorced, so I absolutely understand that. It is not use of your resources or funds to then or professional to be aligned with you emotionally. That is also, in my opinion, very unprofessional. So you should not be taking on the emotions of your client. Your job really is to steer them to the best possible for them, which in my experience is rarely saying that a stranger knows anything about your family.
Yeah, I'm glad it's so validating to hear you say this. And I hope that attorneys, probably not the ones we wish were listening, would listen to this. Some of the stuff that we see also from clients on the other end of this is and we tell them to expect it, is to be bullied and personally attacked by opposing counsel.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the trauma that people have already endured, plus the difficulty of any divorce, and to have it happen again and again by now not just their ex, but their ex's attorney. It's just a horrific experience.
Exactly. It's another trauma, whether it is amicable, uncontested, peaceful. The biggest traumas that people will go through, it changes their finances, their home, their dreams and expectations for the future. And so to the conflict professionals in the equation makes everything much worse. And it's worse even for the person that has hired them, because they're having to, also, and so they're still stuck in the cycle as well. And for a certain period of time, even crazy, they may enjoy that type of, oh, I'm getting to you, type of thing. But the end result is it increase cost and to make that high conflict attorney rich.
Yeah. And, so Tracy, you and I haven't talked about our backgrounds personally to each other, but I don't know if you're aware that I have spent now a decade or so in the system with my ex, and he has hired multiple attorneys, and I've been representing myself for the past 6 years, and things are pretty much resolved. And now my case is case law in the Connecticut Law Journal. So I'm really proud of that. But one of the things that I've realized along the way is that I feel like opposing counsel, the number of lawyers that my ex has hired in 2 different states to represent him, have financially abused him worse than anyone else could have. And I see it because they, I think, pushed him to appeal 4 times, even when a retired appellate judge said, this is not going to go in your favor, sir, like, don't do it. 4 times they did it, they lost, and now it's like publicized and, and way bigger than I think they ever imagined it would happen. Plus, all of the orders that were handed down, I know that the lawyers encouraged him to not comply with, because they would argue with me over the validity of the orders, which I doubt myself because I'm not an attorney, and another attorney saying, no, this doesn't matter. It's not how you see it. Luckily, the judges did agree their orders were orders, but the process of dragging it out really cost him a lot in penalties, interest, and all kinds of other things. So now it's nearly 10 years later, and I feel like he's angrier than ever because of in his mind, the injustice. And I know is because his lawyers probably promised him a different outcome and led him down a path which ended up not working out, unfortunately. And I just think of like the waste of resources and time and energy, not just for him, but for me and for our children.
Yeah,
because of a decade of this.
It is just really gross to see that. And I'm sorry, like the worst case scenario. I hate for that to happen to anybody. Something that we see, because people
divorced once, we hope.
If we hope that's it, if they, so people have nothing to compare it to. So you don't know, like, this attorney, the way that they're behaving is unusual. You don't have, it's not like buying a car. You might do that a couple of times. And so if this person is saying, and I'm fighting for you and I'm doing all these things, you know, and it may not. And it is totally 100% second opinion. It is just like going to the doctor. There are different types of specialists in the medical, same type of thing. So if you're not sure if you're on the right path, you can take your information, go to a different attorney, have them give their opinion, they do the situation, and compare that. Other options for me, just to make sure that you're comfortable with what's, you know, somebody's writing blank checks out of your account. You know, so are you fine with paying for what you're paying? You ahead of time, hey, this is going to be a $5,000, you know, motion, you know, and this is what we hope to gain for it. And our chances of success are 1%. Have those things been explained to you to make sure that you're making? I think people are very intimidated by the legal process. They're very attorneys, and they really need to be more empowered to question things. You have every right to ask questions, and you're there to be advancing your best interests, not theirs. And so if you're like, I don't want this to happen anymore, I do want mediation, I do, you need to be a teammate with your attorney, not that they're the ship.
You know, I know Chris is off camera, but I don't know if you're aware also, but we had a book that came out earlier this year, and it's been there, got out, and the subtitle part of it is How to Stay Sane Under Insane Circumstances. And there's a chapter on how to choose the right attorney. We have a partner who also wrote the foreword to the book, who's an attorney from Canada. And we do a series called The Client as Consumer. And we advocate exactly what you're saying. And we call it taking strategic oversight of your case and being really educated. But especially in that chapter, understanding what is expected from the client-attorney relationship and knowing that you should be asking questions and you should be collaborating with your lawyer, because in the end, you are the one who has to live with the consequences. You know your ex better than anyone, especially better than your lawyer. For me, being a pro se or self-represented litigant, I felt like I know my case. I know my details better than anybody because it's my only case, because it's my life. So realizing that anyone who hires an attorney, that attorney generally has other clients too, and that you shouldn't look to an attorney to save your life. You have to stay on top of things. And I'm glad that you're echoing that it is a tremendous responsibility to educate yourself and also to ask questions to find out exactly what's going on. And again, that's why I'm so glad that you agreed to come on and help educate people about this process. Now, something I wanted to ask you, is Chris and I do workshops for professionals, and we did something with a pod of collaborative divorce professionals. And I thought that of all types of people, and I'm now including Amicable Divorce Network in this, that because you are trained in keeping conflict low, that you would be the best types of professionals to put a fence around legal abuse, to put a fence around what we call like the Wild West of family courts where things get out of control. But when we brought it up to this group, a couple of them said, we don't like working with high conflict. So how do you how can we get our clients, because we deal only with high conflict, a lot of domestic violence situations, how would you encourage someone who's, say, in a difficult relationship, knows they want to get a divorce, wants to save time, money, and energy, keep it as low conflict as possible? How could they convince their partner to come to Amicable Divorce Network or something to keep it low? How do you deal with high conflict personalities?
Yeah, well, yeah, first, somebody initiates an amicable divorce, the other spouse gets a very nice letter about how it is lower conflict, it is lower cost. They want to maintain a co-parenting relationship, post-divorce, all these different beautiful things that we really try to make happen for the parties. And they get a book on amicable, nice booklet, and they get a list of attorneys in their area to make it as easy as possible to deliver that messaging to the other party. We don't run to the court system and serve anybody, but we do train all of our professionals on how you can navigate difficult topics and still get the case resolved. We actually do a 2-day training to become a certified amicable divorce professional, which is only available to our members. And it's called the Road to Resolution. And so we start at the beginning of a case all the way to the end. And then we go through difficult roadblocks. We go through addiction. We go through personality disorders. We go through small business valuations. We go through other topics to teach our professionals, hey, you've hit this roadblock. It's going to get a little bit rocky, but here's how you can still resolve it outside of the court system. Because the reality is statistically over 90% of cases never see the inside of a court system. They are resolved through mediation, on the courthouse steps, through kitchen table agreements. And so they really focus on starting their case with resolving their case, case that they're preparing for litigation, because it's statistically very improbable in any case. And so it shouldn't be, there shouldn't be expended funds on that. And no matter what the difficult issue is solved, most divorce cases don't go in front of a judge. They focus on getting those resolutions on the front end.
Yeah. And as you're talking about that training, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm thinking about how a lot of times in these difficult cases, people will come to, let's say, a mediation or trying to come to a settlement proposal, at least with a list of like blaming and accusations. But we know that makes someone leave the table. That doesn't work with difficult personalities. So I'm so glad to hear that you have specific training on a couple of things you mentioned are in our book, as well as like red flags for a potential high conflict divorce. For example, addiction. When someone is not in some sort of recovery, they don't have good judgment and they can't often even make decisions in their own best interests. So it makes things more difficult to deal with. And same thing with personality disorders. They're not thinking straight. A lot of times they're not thinking long-term. They're not thinking of best interests of the children. It's just that there's so much anger during that moment that they're often thinking, I just want to destroy the other person.
Right.
So I'm really glad, because I'm sure you hear all the time, like, lawyers need to be more educated. Judges need to be more educated. And like you said, most of the time it doesn't go before a judge. In a lot of our cases, the ones we deal with, it does, but there's many opportunities before that to try to work something out. So it's way more helpful to have lawyers who understand the different approach that some of these cases require, that it can't just be coming from a perspective of logic, because often logic just doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I was going to ask, so you're in Georgia. Are you geographically limited, or tell us like how far reaching Amicable Divorce Network is?
Yeah. So international organization. So we have members all over the Canada and the United Kingdom. I'll actually be going to the United Kingdom this year. Some of our members there and teach them how to think through some difficult issues, and that's mediation's getting very popular over there. So that's great for us. So we vet members. So, our goal is to offer these services that people are getting a divorce, that we are vetting professionals for. Does not want somebody that's been vetted for being focused and engaging in fair billing practices, then they are just one on fire. So we think that those qualities should be important to anybody approaching a divorce, and they're really founding the organization, there was really no vetting mechanism whatsoever to know like am I actually being paired with the kind of attorney will honor that for me? Because there are shysters out there. You know, the more money somebody makes. And so different, you know, relationships. So if they're encouraging you, you know, to not settle at mediation or to, you know, not do these different things, they're making, you know, and our organization are focused on helping people. You know, they got resolve differences to really help people and to help.
Yeah, and as you're saying that, it's just making me think about a conversation that Chris and I had with a friend of his years ago who's a divorce attorney in Virginia. And in our heads, before we spoke to her, we thought, okay, if it's a high conflict personality, then you're going to have a high conflict divorce. And she said, not at all. If you have two, and I heard somebody just the other day, a lawyer told me this, they said, if you have two attorneys that can work together well, that can make it not a high conflict situation at all. And it's really the responsibility of the professionals involved to keep it low conflict. When it gets high conflict is exactly like what you said, when opposing counsel, when the lawyers get out of control and emotional, and then things just escalate.
Yeah, I love hearing that. That's absolutely correct. The attorneys really are the gatekeepers to if somebody has an attorney, they really can't on the court system without their attorney filing those things for them. So it's turning around and saying, you know what, that's not the best course of action. I'm going to file that motion. Let's look at these different alternatives. Let's handle it this way. Using the conflict and probably giving their client the best advice possible to set them up for success. But it's absolutely true. I mean, I've circumstances where I have represented the narcissist, I have represented the addict, person who's disordered. You know, I've represented the abuser. Another opposing counsel where we can have reasonable about things and get them resolved. We can do doing. That's why we require 5 years of family law experience in our organization, because you do need to have been doing this for a hot minute to be able to things off of people, to understand how to navigate these situations, to have that level of to be able to be successful in this space.
Yeah. Now, how many people do you have in your network?
We're currently at about 2.
Wow. So let's say I'm in a certain state and I want to use it. Like, what if, I mean, a lot of areas are huge. So do people meet in person? Like, wouldn't it be expensive to have to travel or fly someone in just to all sit at a table together?
So we were founded in Georgia in 20. Didn't really anticipate this, but when COVID came along, already ready with an out of court process. So when people were sheltered, we're like, I can't stand this person anymore, and the courts were closed, we were doing online mediations. We were doing our process outside the court system step to get people resolved, file it as an uncontested case at the end, only have the judge sign off on those. So our can be, and I have several clients, I joke with them, I don't know how tall you are, because with them on Zoom. I represent clients all over the state of Georgia. On Zoom, a lot of people are choosing that really as a default these days, simply because they got so used to it during COVID and they don't want to get out of their comfy clothes. So we can mediate. Our technology platform is on it's very easy to do start to finish. I had a couple of clients took off work. We handled the whole thing. They were sitting at their desk on their lunch hour. So we try to easy as it can be for people. It's hard enough already, and to really streamline everything.
That is just amazing. And I'm glad that you highlighted again the issue of the court's calendar. So when someone is stuck in the court process, you are on the court's calendar, and it's really overburdened, and especially so post and during COVID. And so often people have to wait months for their next appearance. I know with one appearance for me, it took 15 months to get a court date. And so, but what you're describing completely eliminates that, where things can get done a lot more expeditiously and during your lunch hour while you're wearing your pajamas. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah, it can choice that, people can make. I mean, just like else, you're going to pick what you want for dinner. You can pick what kind of divorce you want to. I always tell people that's the really last agreement on about their marriage is how we're going to get divorced. And so when two people agree to do the amicable divorce process and hand it over to the professionals dedicated to getting them divorced that way, that's what we're all very, very protective of who gets in the network, because, they be working with good people that have a passion for helping people get through different.
Yeah, I know. We're always talking about the cost benefit analysis and thinking about what it really takes to get a divorce or to deal with a court issue, and how it's not just legal fees that have to be considered, but it's the time that you're taking away from work. It's the emotional energy that you're spending, just not being able to sleep, not being able to parent really well. So this sounds like such an amazing option if you can get your ex to get involved with it, but just to save, again, not just the money, but all of the energy and the delaying, so that you have the chance of moving on with your life so much faster and more easily.
Yeah, most people are attracted to savings. So that's how we sort of get people be interested in it and to learn more. And the other benefits, and because they didn't have a high conflict divorce, understand how great their divorce was. The professionals are high-fiving each other. Oh my gosh, we navigated that great situation, but the clients appreciation for having a good divorce. They have nothing to it to. So really it's just the professionals who are the amicable ones for is the professionals. The clients are still set. They got a divorce, have all the same issues, that they might have, as good as we can for people.
Well, that is wonderful. I mean, I'm so glad again that you came on to talk, because we love, one of the things with Been There Got Out that we love to do is connect people to helpful resources. And so we often talk about the where someone is at in the process. So we have our grizzled veterans like myself who have been knowing about this and dealing with it for years, but we also get some babies who are at the very beginning of the process. And we like to remind them that even though they feel extraordinarily overwhelmed, that they have more power at this point than any other time, because they haven't made any mistakes yet. They haven't made those expensive, irrevocable mistakes. And so it could be such an opportunity for somebody who's like, I'm thinking of leaving, I'm trying to figure out what to do with choosing an attorney, to say, hey, before you do anything, contact Tracy and just talk to her and see if this might be a possibility. Because many of the people who are watching this interview and who will watch it are already in the middle, and they would appreciate having had something like this to start with from the beginning. And we also talk about how important it is to start properly at the beginning of the process. That is the foundation of your case. So to do it right and not have to switch attorneys like 3 or 4 or 5 times saves money, time, energy. You get more peace in your life back sooner.
Absolutely correct. At the beginning, you really do have all the choices are available to you. It's a whole, divorce buffet on what you're going to choose. And it's important. It's a very important decision. It is the only thing that will occur in your life that will everything, your children, your home, your finances, your future. It impacts. And people really aren't hesitant to reach out to a real estate agent to sell their house. And that's just your house, so make sure you're choosing the right professional to juggle all of the pieces of the puzzle. Ask the right questions, ask what experience they have. You should be asking, how many cases do you resolve? How often do you go to court? And because if their response is something like, oh, all my cases go to court and I win them all, or, it's anything around 50-50, that's a red flag to me, because statistically then they are an anomaly within the system. They should be saying that 10% maybe go to court. Some cases require some hearings, but in general, they should be telling you, oh yes, we use mediation, we do these things of that nature, and meet with different professionals. Look at their website, see what they're all about. Are they also mediators? What is, and get the feel of 3 different they would recommend to you as a course of action, and see what feels dating, right? You don't just pick the first person, other people, and you want to make sure that you're making that correct partnership, because they will be driving the ship of your life into the future.
Yeah, so important. Okay, so Tracy, how can people find you?
Email me, info@amicableddivorcenetwork.com. Reach out with any questions about amicable divorce. You can also use that email professionals. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I worked with and they should be in this network, you can recommend them as well on the email address. You can also go to amicableddivorcenetwork.com if you want to search our message for anybody who might be in your area. We also have lots of resources there, as well as on divorceamicably.com, which is going through divorce. So Amicable Divorce Network has a lot of professional content. Amicably has content for people going through divorce, some articles and resources. But if you ever get stuck or need some help, just email info@amicableddivorcenetwork.com and we'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Oh my gosh, Tracy, thank you so much for talking with me today. This is like a godsend, and I'm so excited to now have you in our mental Rolodex of people to be able to refer our clients to, and hopefully start to put, again, like I said, put a fence around some of the conflict by taking away these really difficult lawyers who just fan the flames.
Yeah, I think over that they are not going to be in business anymore, because we're just seeing more educated, millennials and different generations not into the high conflict divorce thing. They're smart, divorce. They're making different choices. And so, like Taylor Swift will take itself out every time. And so I think eventually that'll help and happen here in family law. So hopefully over time, maybe not in my generation, but they won't anymore. So.
Oh, that would be wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Tracy. And let's definitely do this again.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. And the upload is already finished. And I love the fact that you mentioned Taylor Swift, because now we're going to get millions of views.
I did notice that on my TikToks. If I did a Swift talk, just throw one in there. It's like, well, I'll get a whole bunch of traction. So.
Wow. Oh my gosh. But Tracy, I'm so good. I think you're probably one of the only people that I've interviewed who I've never talked to before.
Oh,
we usually do like a little intro, but I messed up with the schedule. But I feel like it went really well, and what you've done sounds incredible.
Thank you.
I know at first it was like, well, does this fit? Because we only do high conflict, and then I had seen one of your TikToks and got in touch, but this fits perfectly.
Yeah, it's always frustrating to me to see professionals say, I'm not going to touch the difficult issues.
I know.
And it's like, you're the ones who need to be doing this because you know how, so it's interesting because I have to do a training in the UK in April, and it's very similar over there where they don't have to go to mediation if there's anything difficult, if it's finances, if it's personalities, whatever it is. And so part of what we're doing training wise is like, here's how you can go through difficult issues and help people, as opposed to sending them into the court system. So a lot of our training focuses on that. Our conference, I was talking about the Road to Resolution one. We're doing that in Nashville in March. And so people come from all over in the network to take that training and do that. So it's people like getting together, having a good time. So,
oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Do you do any like public conferences? Like, we're not attorneys, but I'm just thinking some of the information that you're mentioning would be so helpful. Do you do anything educational that someone like me
Well,
or
you
Chris
guys
can go
would
to?
be welcome at our conference if you wanted to come. It's interdisciplinary. So, I mean, we have members who are real estate agents who take it. You know, we have partners like our Family Wizard and different SoberLink, and they come and have a representative take the training so that they
really?
sort of, so that they understand like what it is that we're doing. And so it's 2 days. It's March 7th, 8th, and 9th. The third day is focused solely on gray divorce. It's a special designation, so we do little topics after. But the road to resolution is the 7th and 8th at the Graduate Hotel. We always pick a fun spot people want to go to. And our Family Wizard sponsors us and helps us out a great deal in SoberLink and stuff like that. So,
all right, Chris, we got to go. I mean, that sounds incredible.
There are a couple of rooms left, so I can send you the link. I would say if you're interested, you want to snag your hotel room, because the lady sent me the list today, and I think 2 people were changing things around, so that would leave a couple of rooms open because they're very
send us whatever you have.
Yeah,
send us whatever you have.
I think you'd love it, and I'll, there's a cost mainly because of the food there, but definitely if you guys want to go, a heavy discount for you. I think you'd love it. So you'd love the people that you met too. They're all like, like me,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm hoping you love me, but it's like everybody likes getting together because they're like, these are my people. These are the people who understand what it's like to do this work and how we can make it better for us. I mean, I don't talk about this really on podcasts and stuff, but like I started this because I did not want to work with assholes anymore. I was sick of it. My cortisol was raising 40 times a day. I have inflammation, all kinds of, autoimmune disorder crap, and it's like, how can I make my life better without quitting my job?
Oh my God. So David is the attorney that I just visited in Canada who wrote the foreword to our book. As you were, as soon as you started talking, I was like, I have to introduce David to you. And I'm wondering, Chris, if there's a way to get down here during that date that maybe David would meet us there, because he would be so into this, and he's Canadian. He's like spreading his his handle is the recovering litigator.
Yeah, that's exactly what, I'm doing. I think we're seeing a lot of people fleeing from the family law space, but I still have a passion for family law, but I couldn't do it within the system. So I just created a different system.
Yep.
Because I wasn't going to deal with these people. Yeah.
Yeah. Several people that have done the same thing, like colleagues who we've interviewed and become friends with. So like the people you're describing, that's totally our people too.
Yeah.
And putting a fence around the domestic violence stuff. That's
we're going to be doing a day of training on domestic violence. I think we maybe touched on this. A lot of people shy away from it. I think the court system re-abuses people. I don't think you need to. I think you should be protecting and helping those people, not letting them get re-abused by the system. That's a general statement.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, I'm a state certified domestic violence advocate.
Awesome.
So, so we bring that whole perspective to what we do too, besides everything else.
Yeah. But, we're planning to do a day on that. We're doing child-centered divorce, special designation, gray divorce, special designation. And then later this year, we're going to do addiction, maybe domestic violence again this year. So those will be on Zoom. This conference is in person.
Send us everything. This is because you are our people. I didn't even realize this, but you are definitely like exactly the kinds of people.
Come to the United Kingdom with me too. That's going to be a fun time.
We have clients in the UK. We have clients all over the world.
Oh, wonderful.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we say it's different laws, but it's the same issues. It's the same problem.
Yeah.
We just got in India.
They have like less options in the UK to resolve it as well. So that's been really interesting working with them. We have about 25 members there at this point. Because we're doing some infrastructure issues before we like really kick off. But our Family Wizards having us come over there to do a day of training on how to divorce out of court and do some roadblocks and stuff like that with people. So that'll be cool. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, we want to know as much as possible.
I'll put you on the email list.
I'll say amicable. Amicable.
Yeah, and in the United Kingdom, there's an organization, and they're called Amicable, and so that's an issue. But they are like they just help you fill out court forms and charge you for it or something. So that's been difficult because I'm like, that's not us, So but I'll send you the stuff on the conference if you're interested. Let me know because I would just charge you the very base amount of cost to have somebody sitting in the seat. just to come down and see what it's about. Lots of great people coming from all over. So it's going to be fun.
Chris, I want to go.
Yeah,
Chris, I want to go.
it's so energizing when we meet someone who, whatever the role is philosophically right on the same page with us. It's just always great. It's like, not only are you our friend, but your friends are our friends, and our friends are your friend. Like, it mushrooms out,
And that's the whole point of the network. Like, you might not know this colleague in Minnesota that's on our website, but they're the same as you. So you can make that referral. You can go to our website and say that, because we vetted them, and I found that was what was important and missing from anything else, was they're not vetting on the front end. And unfortunately, we had to remove 2 collaboratively trained professionals from the organization. We do remove people. We get complaints, you're out. So, and they were high conflict and collaborative clothing,
Wow.
So that's unfortunately an issue we see as well. Yeah. And so, I don't play. And our members don't either. They're very protective of it. So they're like, not going to let people in. There's usually a lot of debate. We send it out, but this person applied, send it out to all the members in the state, and they're just firing back and forth on it and stuff. So, but it's a lot of fun. But it's good. It's good to get good people to the right place, and to get lots of Christmas cards from your clients about, thank you, so that's very gratifying. So,
what you're describing too. So have you ever heard of BNI? Yeah. So I'm in BNI also. That's my in-person networking stuff. But part of that I love is getting to know people and really developing relationships with other people. And of course, it's not just lawyers. It's everyone in our group is different. Mine, of course, is so niche. No, but I get like tentacle relationships. I get introduced to professionals like you or whatever, and then we're on the same page, or we're not. But usually we're on the